Howdy, everybody, and a happy Skews Day. Today is June 8th, 2021. I'm Trae Crowder, and that's Mark Agee. What's up, Mark?
What's up, Trey? Just recovering from a brutal sports loss, which I know is a specialty of yours as well. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, the
the my
Mavs, your Mavs lost in seven to the Los Angeles Clippers. I'm sorry. How you
Yeah,
holding up?
yeah, we're up 2-0 and we lost 4 out of 5, so that feels good. The
Are you still, how affected are you still at this point in your life by sports losses like that? Because I've been ashamed so many times as an adult man by how much I let that stuff affect me still. Like college football, especially, which I've kind of given up on at this point because I have nothing left to kill inside of me when it comes to college football as a Tennessee fan.
it
But yeah, I get mad at myself for how much I
yeah,
care sometimes.
it's stupid. Like it's like
It's so stupid.
I made this joke the other day about how like sports and dogs having 8-year lifespans are like God's way of teaching us nihilism. But the but like I learned about death from having pets, right? But even though I know that only one team can win a title every year, and it's definitely
Right.
not going to be mine. And I still
Right.
get so upset when they lose. I never fight. It's a Lucy in the football, except it's like way sadder than that. It's like Lucy in a hand grenade or some shit. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just it is sad and it is stupid, but hey, what are you gonna do? It's just how part of our caveman brain, I guess. It's just like that's
yeah,
my thing to do good. I want it. Don't make sad.
yeah.
Um,
And I was reading this thing about psychology of sports fandom. It's like your self esteem becomes been entwined with the teams, and you feel like their accomplishments are yours, and their
right.
failures are yours,
We
which
did
is
it.
not. They don't even know I exist. Nobody in the team
No,
knows
I
I
have no
exist.
idea. Yeah, and dude, a lot of them as professionals, it's like I mean, I'm sure the a lot of them get very torn up about it too. But I think that there are like plenty of professional athletes who don't get as upset as
No.
some sports fans get
Yeah.
when they lose and whatnot.
Because
It's
they made money
insane.
during the game and I lost
Right?
money during the
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, we are thrilled to welcome back producer Matt to the show. He's back, everybody, and we're so glad he's here. This is Weekly Skews. Tonight, we talk about everybody's favorite feudal overlord, Jeff Bezos, and his latest dalliance with space travel. Will he stay there? Will he die there? Probably not, but we'll see what happens. That will lead us into a larger conversation about the uber wealthy in this country when it comes to paying taxes. Spoiler alert, they kind of just don't.
Hmm.
So that's going to be a fun conversation. We're looking forward to it. We hope you are too. But first, as always, we begin with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's dumbass, French President Emmanuel Macron for believing that he could not be challenged to a medieval duel in 2021. Matt, play the clip, please. All right. Well, okay.
Go be one of
So
them.
yes, it looks like it might be. We'll see what happens with the rest of the clips. We'll see how they go as we're playing them. But that one in slow motion kind of works a little bit. I love Sacre Bleu, Mark. You love I just the only thing that would make that better for me if that dude was dressed as a mime when he did it.
Yeah.
But then we'd lose the great. Like you couldn't really hear it on that clip, but he's like, I don't know. He just yells some French shit before he does Abbas la Macronie and slaps him in the
Yeah.
face, and it's just it's so theatrical and wonderful.
Man, we got to get one of them parliamentary or mixed systems or whatever it is French has where we get to punch the president because that's fucking
I
rock. That's
know.
rad.
Who among us hasn't wanted to bitch slap the president? You know what I mean? They're making dreams a reality over there in France, man.
Yeah, it's like in England, people walk up and literally just tell Boris Johnson to go fuck himself. Like, you can't get within a mile of the American president without being searched 43 times.
Dude, I saw this literally just popped into my head, so we don't have a clip for this or anything, but the Australian president or prime minister or whatever they got down there. I'm American.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he was giving like some press conference outdoors and
During the wildfires, right? Yeah.
What?
During the wildfires last year, right?
I think so. But in the middle of it, this dude, apparently he was like standing kind of on the lawn of some guy in the local community. He's just in a local community doing a thing, the Australian president. And in the middle of it, the dude that owns the property steps out and he's like, "Oh, mate, you want getting off the grass? I've only just reseeded it." He's like, "Oh, sorry about that." Just like steps off his
There's
ground. They have a very different relationship with their leaders, it seems like, in a lot of other Western countries. Because, dude, I think if you think you get shot for that, like by the Secret Service. I mean, if you attempted to bitch slap our president.
You would not be able to. You can't get near it. It wouldn't be.
You would never have the opportunity to do that, right?
But I thought you were talking about. There's another video clip from Australia a couple of years ago when they were being ravaged by real bad wildfires, and they have like a pretty right wing dumbass president too, like we did at the time, who had cut firefighting budgets and doesn't believe in global warming. And this guy who was a firefighter, he's a firefighter fighting the fires. The president's giving a speech down the street from one, drives by and goes, "Hey, fuck off, mate." And just control.
Yeah.
That dude works for the government, and he's not worried about getting fired by the president. It's great. But I was trying to figure out why the French dude hit Macron, and like, there's no real reason to get, because French politics is nuts, right? He could be a yellow jacket protester, he could be anti-lockdown guy, he could be a Q guy, or he could be mad about cutbacks in government benefits. I have no idea why he hit him. But the funny part to me, well, the thing he yelled when he hit him was down with Macron, so it's pretty vague. The two separate Macron spokesmen refer to that as the attempted slap. They're already pretending like he didn't actually get hit when you can hear the slap.
Yeah, you could see the slap too. That was clearly a slap. We could replay it and circle it on the video there, Madden style. You can see right here where the five fingers meet the face. But yes, no, I just thought that was there should be more of that. There should be more presidents getting slapped, as far as I'm concerned.
Not actual assaults, just a slap. Does that
just
a
slap? A slap is fine. Yeah. Presidents, they got to come. People want to slap them. They should be able to slap them, as far as I'm concerned. All right, our first honorable mention for Daily Dumbass tonight is whatever poor person gets tricked into accepting an invitation to Mark Zuckerberg's island. Why would that be a mistake? Because you will definitely be hunted for sport. How do I know that? Because Zuck has been practicing. Matt, throw up whatever you got there. Show the good.
It's a bullseye. It's a bullseye. We don't miss, it's a bullseye. Hit it once, hit it twice, never miss. It's a bullseye. Hit it once, hit it.
He hits the rest of them, but just show you, it's not. He's diversifying his huntsmanship. Just so y'all know, it's not just archery.
So before you show it, like we need to be clear on two things. One, we did not put that music track in. That's Zuckerberg's music. That SoundCloud trap beat. We're talking about how fucking awesome he is while he's shooting archery. By the way, that's really good. I used to be into bow shooting. That's like it takes him like 8 shots to all 6 bowling pins, whatever he's shooting at. So like I'm not fucking with him in an archery contest.
Right, it's legit, right? I mean, that's what else is he doing?
the song over top of the second video, which we have to play it sound down because we'll get dinged by YouTube's automatic algorithm for copyright infringement. It's Audio Slaves, the one singing about how God made us, didn't teach us how to live or whatever. So he's just like new metal tracks from 2002. Mark Zuckerberg is throwing spears to. So he did that. We did, and we just can't show it to you. But let's watch the spear throw.
Yeah, watch this.
Yeah. So
now, look, I don't know enough about spear chucking to really comment on it, but that looked like a good spear chuck to me. I mean, he hit the bullseye. I don't know the distance. How impressive is it? I don't know. I also don't know about spear chucking form. It looked comical to me, but hell, maybe that's just, by the letter, perfect spear chucking form from Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know. I don't want to be hunted by him.
Yeah, but also here's the fun part. We had no technical difficulties during that clip. Zuckerberg also put that in slow motion. So Zuckerberg's
Yes,
slow
right.
motion to "Dealt in my hand from my creator, gave me life, but show me how to live."
There you go. Yeah. We need to have a whole segment of you doing new metal tracks. I think it would help for people.
Dude, I had that album in my.
I'm glad you clarified that because yes, the Macron slap clip was not supposed to be in slow motion. It just turned out that way. But yes, just so y'all know, Zuck put that one into slow motion for the benefit of the people. I mean, this is just like, this is what, when you're a tycoon, this is just what you do. You just learn to, hunt caveman style or whatever. Like, I mean, what else is he going to do? He's probably got a bunch of hobbies like this, but is it also like him just, the nerd wanting to be badass, like throwing the new metal tracks over the archery things? Like, just so y'all know, I can fuck you up with these, primitive murder techniques that I've been working on.
Yeah, he's the kid in your class with throwing stars, except he can afford full spears now.
Weapons. Yeah.
So something Gizmodo said is the reason Zuckerberg has been doing this stuff and posting videos about it is he's mad because he's in Hawaii. He has like a big, huge estate in Hawaii. That's where that is. I'm not sure if it's his own island or just half of an island, but he owns a big chunk of some island in Hawaii. So Hawaii has really stringent COVID protocols. So they give permits for hiking. So only so many people can be on the trail. They've limited, there were too many hiking permits handed out for him to get a hiking permit on his favorite trail, but they still have hunting permits. So he's trying to get it. He's showing how he's training to get his hunting permit. So he learned archery to own the Hawaiian state government, basically. That's what he did.
Okay. Yeah,
I can actually support that kind of petty activity. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or did he just, sort of download archery protocol version 2.4, you know what I mean, into the port into the back of his skull that he definitely has since he's a robot. The world may never know. All right. Our next honorable mention, all of us lefties for not understanding the nuances of satire. Mark, what am I talking about? It's our favorite subject, the January 6th people.
So one of the ringleaders from January 6th, this dude from Texas, who's a 3%er, wrote an anonymous letter. We know he wrote it for reasons we'll get to in a second, but he circulated an anonymous letter that was group signed by basically everyone in the cell block. They were all rioters on January 6th. And it basically says that this was an ironic coup attempt, that they were just kidding. And they were just joking around after doing and going through the motions of an ironic coup attempt, because if they wanted to overthrow the government, they would have just done it because they're that.
Dude, these guys having that, like, we totally could have won state if Coach would have just put me in a game. Or, you know what I mean? Like, we totally could have won state if I hadn't had my knee fucked up. Like, these guys having that energy is so perfect. Them being like, just so y'all know, if we really wanted to, we could have overthrown the government. We only didn't because it was a goof, and you guys don't get it. Good thing we weren't trying.
This guy, whose name is Garrett something, let's call him Garrett. So he there are a couple of funny things in this piece. One, they wanted to have, because they're all in the same cell block, they wanted to theme everything. So they wanted to name every cell in the block after a different U.S. president. There are 20 cells. The thing is, this group of patriots couldn't name 20 presidents. So he had his wife. They didn't know 20 presidents. So he had his wife print off the Wikipedia page list of U.S. presidents and mail him the list. So he currently lives in the Garfield suite.
So did he give himself the Garfield suite? Because first of all, on the list of presidents that I would imagine hit for them, Garfield he's pretty obscure, I feel like. Also, he's a fat orange cat who hates Mondays and loves lasagna on top of that. Again, every time we ever talk about these people in any capacity, it is so over the top, comically ridiculous with the level of stupidity that it just almost defies reason or believability. But here we are every week.
So the way we know that the letter was written by him is because his wife helped him write it, because apparently he can't write that good. And she immediately snitched on him when someone asked if he wrote it. So she said, yeah, it's like, and what's funny about this is at least the third time his family had snitched on him. This letter's going to keep him in jail without bail, right, by the way, because he fucking bragged about how cool the coup was. So two other times his family snitched on him. One, his college-age son called the FBI about him 2 weeks before January 6th to tell them this was going to happen. Another reason the FBI was up his ass, not being able to fucking defend against this. The third time was after he stormed the Capitol. They called and turned him in when they saw him on TV.
Yeah.
So, and we've actually reported on him before. Well, we talked about him right after the coup attempt. He was he's the first two-time returning dumbass who's not a public figure, because what he did was, when his kids turned him in, he threatened to execute them as traitors if they had done. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Because that's what happens to traitors. They get shot. He said that to his children. He was going to execute his children, and they turned him in anyway. I mean, real talk. His kids are, genuinely pretty awesome. It seems like his son not taking their dad's shit, being like, no, fuck that. You apparently, don't
at some point last year, his son went to a BLM. His son is he went off to college and became left wing, I guess, which happens to a lot of us,
Yeah, you go there, you learn shit. Next thing you know.
So they got in an argument about BLM, and he threw a coffee mug at his son's head. And then his son went to a BLM protest. He went and counter protested his own son with a gun with the militia tickets. It sounds like a real fun family. Yeah. And they just say this is like just a short button on this. Like, these guys stay so fucking stupid. There was another story about a different guy who the FBI tricked into confessing because they had him. They're like, you were at the Capitol? And he goes, yeah. But I didn't do anything bad. Okay, just write down everything you did do, and will that be fine? So he wrote a book report about his day at the Capitol. And it's like what I did on my summer vacation, fucking type stupidity. This is just. God, I want to be an FBI agent right now. So fucking easy.
The best part, the statement, the essay he wrote about the shit he did at the Capitol. Again, this is a different dipshit we're talking about here. The best part to me is, like, he took a little aside in the middle of this confession that he didn't know was a confession to also be badass. There's a point in the middle of it where he goes, I did not break anything. The police were present. I was not asked to leave. I fist bumped and devil horned the SWAT line and then left after about 5 minutes. So it's him making a point to make sure everybody knows that he took a moment to be fucking metal and hardcore and shit with the SWAT guys on his way out.
That article only includes like excerpts from it, but I wish I could read the whole thing, because I guarantee you it starts with Webster's Dictionary defines the Capitol as.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots.
All right. Let's see. Let's move on. Our next honorable mention. We will see if this video works. Matt, when you start to play this, if it's fucking up, just turn it off, but we'll see what happens. But our next honorable mention is...
Always used to make dogs go crazy. So we have a friend who's a political candidate down here, right? And her campaign manager has 2 of these little yappy dogs. And they would not stop. I couldn't be in her house for more than 20 minutes because it would drive everybody crazy. Even growing up, we had Alsatians, we had Black Labradors. They just didn't like me at all. The dogs don't bark at me anymore, and it happened almost overnight. Now they seem to quite like me, and it sounds like the stupidest thing in the world.
Okay, so, if you didn't recognize him, that's Milo Yiannopoulos. And what he's specifically talking about, why don't dogs bark at him anymore? Because he cured himself of the gay. Happy Pride Month, everybody. That's what he's talking about. He used to be gay. He's not gay anymore because he got that fixed. You know how that works. And now, ever since doing that, dogs no longer bark at him. So, maybe take that into account when you're thinking about being all gay and stuff.
So I guess the dumbass here is cats for having terrible gaydar. So Milo was a huge grifter. He was like in 2015, 2016, he was ascendant, had a book deal for millions of dollars, whatever. He got canceled because he basically went on British television and said that
pedophilia was like natural in the gay community, right?
He's basically saying that
that's part of being gay is when you're a young gay child, you have a sexual relationship with an older gay man. He said that shit and was like, yeah, that's just how it's supposed to go. And got his book deal canceled and all that. He's a lunatic.
Got his book deal canceled, got fired by Breitbart in a beef with Steve Bannon, and then ended up getting kicked off social media platforms and went dead fucking broke. So he's emerged from his broke ass cocoon as now I'm a paleocon who's against gay people now, and now he's starting a conversion therapy place in Florida, and now he went on that horrible anti-gay pastor's YouTube channel to try and get people to start sending him money again, and it'll probably work.
He specifically, like, he specifies that he's talking about his friends like yappy little purse dogs. I refuse to believe that particular type of dog doesn't love gay dudes. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. You know, I got a gay uncle. He loves dogs. His dogs love him back. But I'm saying, you think of those, like those dogs and gay dudes were made for each other. Okay, there's no way those dogs specifically are homophobes. German shepherds, maybe. Hey, they're the cops of the dog world. I could see it. But fucking little yappy purse dogs, they're not homophobes. Come on now.
That reminds me of one time I was working like retail at a holiday season, and at like I don't want to say the name of the store because I don't know, but it's like one of those like outlet mall kind of places. So it's like a fancy places outlet, and a dude comes in and he's looking at like Louis Vuitton pet carriers, and for like a little yappy sized dog, and he goes like, "Do you have any more masculine Louis Vuitton pet carriers?" And I was like, I mean, I know what you're asking. I know what you're asking for, man. But like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, just get a pit bull or whatever. If that's like, if you're worried about like, you know, looking like a badass while you walk your dog or whatever, maybe don't have that particular dog. Nothing wrong with having that kind of dog.
8-pound dog to an airport, you want to look super masculine. I get it. Yeah.
How would that work? Because even like, think about those dogs. I've seen them before. If you put like a spike collar on them, even gayer, I think. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing you can do with one of those dogs to look like, you know, a mercenary or whatever this dude was going for. And that's fine, Mark.
Right, no judgment. I was like, I get you. You don't want to be. You're a masculine. You identify as a super masculine gay dude. You don't want to be stereotyped. So you want, but it's like it was a very funny conversation to me. I get it, but it's just weird.
All right, our final honorable mention in the Daily Dumbass segment this week, Alabama Congressman Mo Brooks, who's had a hell of a week. This guy was one of the inciters of the January 6th sedition. Not that, but he doesn't admit that. California Representative Eric Swalwell has been attempting to fight. Well, I guess he did file a lawsuit against Mo Brooks for this, but has been attempting and failing to serve him with that lawsuit for a long time. But it finally happened in the past few days, and Brooks was not happy about it, Mark.
No, so for frame of reference, what Mo did was he was at the Trump. He opened for Trump on January 6th, and he said that basically gave one of those speeches about how the tree of liberty needs to be refreshed with the blood of tyrants or whatever. And so Swalwell included him in the lawsuit along with Trump and a few other people. He's accused them of civil rights violations or something like that. It's a nuisance lawsuit, but it's a funny one, and the targets are stupid, so let's go for it. But Discovery will probably open up all kinds of shit. But anyway, so like he's been ducking the process server since March, and it's been fairly easy for him because they can't come into the Capitol because the Capitol has military level security because of the aforementioned coup attempt. So the process server eventually caught up with Brooks's wife and served him at his house in Alabama. And Brooks was pissed off at the guy coming on his property and he didn't know how to do a screen grab. So he called up the law that this process server supposedly violated. It took a picture with his cell phone camera and tweeted it out. Now, what was funny about this is he had a post-it note in the bottom of his computer monitor with his Gmail password and bank PIN number on the bottom of the fucking computer.
Again, every single time we even touch upon January 6th, some abject dipshittery is included, like some self-parody over the top level. There's no way that really happened type of dumbassery is part of the story every time, even when congressmen are involved. And yes, we've got it here with him tweeting out his own username and password. That's that email security they're also worried about, Mark. Also, there's something funny to me about this dude getting so upset about somebody forcibly coming onto his property, you know, to serve him, and the circumstances surrounding the lawsuit.
In an effort to show how bad his wife was harassed, he put out the surveillance camera footage from his yard of his wife getting served. It just shows her SUV pulling into the garage. Car pulls up behind. The guy hops out, jogs up the garage, comes out 10 seconds later. She chases him out. Looks like she considers laying down behind his car to keep him from leaving. And so the level of intrusion on his property is the same as basically the meter reader from the electric company, or the mailman
guy or whoever, somebody dropping off a package or whatever it is. But also, it's like, this is how, as I understand it, this whole process serving thing works. You know, like that's what that's for. that's how it's supposed to work. Like, what else are they supposed to do?
And he could have waived service, meaning that I understand him being sued. You don't have to actually track him down and hand him papers. He refused to do that. So basically, they've been in a 3.5-month game of tag where he's been on base. It's fucking stupid. These guys are all
ridiculous.
These guys are all children, man. It's like,
Yes, they are. Speaking of these guys are all children, the uber wealthy. Let's talk about them. Toys.
They don't just have Ninja Stars. They don't just have Ninja Stars, Trey. They have fucking full-on rockets.
Rocket ships,
they love
buddy. Them. What every kid wants.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hit that first video there. Yeah.
We're talking, of course, about Jeff Bezos. And Matt, let's try to play this first video and see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah, so that was just Jake Tapper saying that Jeff Bezos has officially beat Elon Musk into space, which is all this is about. These two dudes.
Absolutely. Dick measuring contest. Bezos' rocket literally looks like a painting. I mean, I know like all rockets kind of look like dicks, but I'm saying if you haven't seen his rocket specifically, it's got like a mushroom head. I mean, it looks even more penisy than most rockets look penisy. And yes, like that's all it's about. He got to beat Musk up there because that's like all they have left at that level is this type of shit. Who's going to be the first one to the goddamn stars or whatever? Yeah. But yeah, Bezos is going to space.
They've been going back and forth over the past year to see who the richest man in the history of the world is currently. It's like a stock ticker, and it basically depends on the daily value of Elon Musk's fake cartoon dog money. And so,
right, yeah.
These are all so ridiculous. Like Jeff Bezos is definitely more evil, but I just find Musk so much more annoying. But like we can't play the video.
Why? Because he's like the cool billionaire, like his cult of personality that surrounds him, where it's like Bezos is just everybody just acknowledges Bezos as this like, you know, billionaire overlord guy. Whereas Musk is supposed to be like he's like, in his head, he's like Tony Stark or something in real life. Like that's sort of his deal. Is that why you find him more annoying?
I think there's lots of reasons to find Elon Musk annoying. His politics, his personality, the fact the fact he thinks he's funny. Like I knew a bunch of writers he hired to work. So The Onion kept making fun of him. So he tried to fund a startup that would topple The Onion. They never actually published a website, but he paid writers to work for him to come to his house every day for like 2 years and tell him his ideas were funny. And so like he's just a fucking weird loser.
To do what? What? So he was like trying to come up with a competitor to The Onion, like the Apple or something. Well, I guess you couldn't do that. The Orange, but what? Like to do what? Just tell actual not satirical headlines, because that's just news. If it is still a joke, how does that even work in reverse? Like that idea don't make any goddamn sense.
So here's a couple examples by Elon interpersonally. So if you write a bad review of a Tesla, you work for an automotive blogger magazine, he will work his ass up to get you fired, right? He's done that to a bunch of people. There's another dude who was a whistleblower about labor violations at one of his plants. Someone, cough, cough, Elon Musk, called the cops and said the guy was a troubled dude, was going to be a workplace shooter, and they should come stop him. So he tried to get this guy. If you get familiar with swatting is, he tried to get a guy killed for whistleblowing about some rules violations for safety, workplace safety shit. There's like a long list. That's like,
I feel like he kind of got exposed a lot with the pandemic and everything too, because like he was flipping out and losing his mind about not being able to keep his factories open and shit like that, like early on in the pandemic, where he showed that like, hey, like he's just another fucking industrialist tycoon who works his people to the bone, and that was just he did that. He wanted to keep his factories open because he had a stock issue targets to hit in order to pass Bezos. That was all. Like he just like it wasn't any sort of long-term problem. It was just he needed for the second quarter of 2020, he needed an X number of Teslas delivered in order to hit his revenue goals or whatever, so he could get his big bonus and pass Bezos. That was fucking it. It's just psychos. So these guys are psychos. So anyway, so back to Bezos. So Bezos is going to space, and he put out this really we can't show the video obviously, but I'll tell you what was funny about it to me. It's Bezos talking to his brother about he wants his brother to go to space with him and how it'd be what a trait it will be for him, yada yada yada. In the video, him and his brother, Bezos is wearing a cowboy hat while he interviews his brother, and it shows footage of them. The pictures they have of this time they spent together was apparently doing some sort of firefighter camp where they went to adult play act as firefighters. I'm like, buddy, you can just get a job. If you want a fucking job, if you want to be a cowboy or a firefighter, you can do that shit. Nobody's stopping you. These guys are all idiots. Him and his brother go on like Western, fantasy day camp type shit where they're both riding horses and wearing cowboy hats and stuff like that. And it's like Zuckerberg with the fucking Bezos is the cowboy and Zuckerberg's the Indian. Bezos there fucking rooting and tooting and roping and all that, and Zuckerberg's working on his bow and arrow game. It's all leading to a climax, guys. They're all gonna fucking opposite of Hunger Games it out at some point with each other. Except they'll use us for avatars and make us fight to the death in their stead. But you know what I'm saying. So there is a firefighter one. So Elon Musk has his own space program too, SpaceX, and Richard Branson has his like Virgin Galactic or whatever. It's like this is the new like space. Having your own personal space program is like the new billionaire conspicuous consumption instead of getting a yacht. It's like it's like us getting the new Jordans or a bass boat if you live in Middle America. It's like you said yachts, islands, shit like that. Now it's space. Space is what that is for them now.
Yeah, and if you're wondering, like, how come they have money for space programs while NASA's doing budget cuts? Here's the thing. It's because they don't pay any fucking taxes. They take the money that should go to actual NASA and use them to build their own goddamn rockets. ProPublica came out with this big goddamn expose today. ProPublica didn't say how they got it because whoever gave it to them definitely did illegal shit to leak it to them. But I'm guessing somebody works inside the IRS. But they leaked like thousands and thousands of tax returns to ProPublica. And they went through the 25 richest Americans and to find some trends about what they're paying. So here's some few stats. So the median American taxpayer makes $70,000 a year. The median American household is $70,000 in income a year and pays 14% in federal to income taxes. Okay, the average top 25 people, richest people in America over the course of the past decade or so paid about 3.4% of their wealth increase in federal income taxes. So they're paying as a percentage about a quarter of the median American household, right? Which is fucking garbage. The worst one is Warren Buffett, who's always agitating for rich people to pay more taxes. He paid 0.1%. For every $100 he made, he paid 10 cents.
Old papaw of these guys, right? Like the way he presents himself and everything. Yeah. And then 0.1% is what he's actually paying.
The actual anecdotes in here are fucking nuts. So in 2007 and 2011, Bezos paid $0. 2018, Musk paid $0. Michael Bloomberg also paid $0 that same year. Carl Icahn managed to pay $0 twice. George Soros paid $0 federal income tax 3 years in a row. So I'm gonna go along with Ted Cruz right now and say George Soros sucks for the moment. This is like, here's the part that drove me crazy. So going back to that $70,000 figure, you want to know what Bezos' actual salary from Amazon is, Trey? It's $80,000 a year. That's what his salary is. On paper, this man is paid $80,000 a year. But when he files
stocks and all that shit.
Yeah. His net worth is $180 billion, while his average income is $80,000 a year. So if you can square those two mathematic formulas, then you'll understand the American tax system. Because
kind of on that note, and this may be an unfair question because I know you're not an economist and I'm not either, but like we of our political persuasion all very much want to tax the rich more and everything, but as long as like this shit is possible, these are loopholes or whatever that allow them to do this shit, does that even matter? You know what I mean? Like taxing them at a higher rate or whatever, what's the fucking point if they don't pay the taxes they're supposed to pay in the first place? And what do you actually do about that? Just like dive into the full-on tax code and close all those loopholes and whatnot? Because who even understands the fucking financial wizardry gobbledygook that goes into what makes all that shit up? It's just it's disheartening because what do you even do about it?
This is the unintended result of a Supreme Court decision. This isn't like the difference between capital gains taxes and income taxes is like, I didn't know this until I read this article, but like it wasn't to change the law. It was the way the Supreme Court decided that capital gains are not income. They just like this one lady in like the 1930s was paid as a dividend to her stock 2 other shares, and she paid it, but then she took the case to court, went all the way to Supreme Court, and they were like, yeah, she got 2 shares, she didn't get any money. So like, so they decided that, and we've been living under this fucking system ever since, where if your wealth goes up, you don't pay shit until you extract it, which there are paper ways you never extract it, which is what Bezos has done. His empire has grown. He's never extracted it yet. So he's just the world's most powerful, richest guy who on paper is cash poor, even though he fucking owns everything. Right. So, I mean, like the scandal here is not that they're doing something shady and illegal. They're doing something shady and legal, right?
Illegal, so, right. That people make a shitload of money figuring out how to exploit these like loopholes. And so you try to like close them, and you just move the goalpost. It just seems like it'd be really hard to devise a way to make it watertight where they're nothing like this exists, like with the sort of legal nature of how shit works in this country. It just feels like they'll always be able to figure out some way to sort of weasel themselves out of it.
Well, they're always going to pay. They're always going to pay as little as they're obligated to, but we can absolutely change what they're obligated to. Like we could raise capital gain. Like the Supreme Court changed the framework for what capital gains tax was, but we can still raise capital gains taxes or restructure how they're paid. You're right. You're absolutely right that we don't have the political will to do that because we're fucking broken. But other countries do it. We can figure it out. It's not like we're not over the barrel here. Jeff Bezos would absolutely pay more in taxes instead of going to prison or moving to Myanmar or whatever. But it's just like this shit's insane. It's very, very frustrating. The thing that pissed me off the most in a couple years, Bezos on paper he lost more than he made, so he didn't pay any. So
crazy. What you're about to say.
he claimed to received a $4,000 tax. He got an earned income tax credit for his fucking kids. That's the thing.
Is so fucking wild and infuriating that motherfucker got an income tax credit for his $4,000 for what? What even is $4,000 to that motherfucker? Like, why even go through the process of attempting to get a $4,000 earned income tax credit on your children if you're Jeff Bezos, other than just like, it's just like a philosophy for them. You know what I mean? It's like, because I can, and so I will. I can get out of paying all this, but not only that, I can also, utilizing this methodology, get this money from the government, even though it's less than a fraction of pocket change to me. I'm still going to do it because I fucking can do it. And it's just, I don't know. That mentality is just so upsetting. It's so upsetting.
$4,000 is less than he paid for the endangered animal he ate for breakfast. You know what I'm saying?
For
It's like,
sure. He in the time me and you have talked about just him getting the tax credit, just this part of this show, he's made probably 10 times $4,000, in those few seconds. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous.
that article is apparently they've been going over these documents for months. It's the first in a series of exposés they're going to have about rich people's taxes. So let's hope it actually causes some political hay, because we'll come back to it, I guess, in a second. But like, here's a weird historical thing where you see America, like, we're literally in the middle of a fight about infrastructure spending, where they're saying we don't have the money to spend on shit, and here's all this money that is created by society's efforts. Jeff Bezos's money comes from us. Like, we pay him.
Hell yeah.
And yet we get stuff for it, but also that money's circulating. It's just going straight in a hole that he's like his armed guards around, and it's not going back into the economy for any purpose. And it's like, we need roads and schools and shit. Like, if people can't get educated and die of preventable diseases, they're not around to subscribe to Amazon, Jeff. This is a problem for you too. Dude. And
yes.
So it's like, think about how they'll just simply pull the goalie to allow societal destruction. There was this weird historical fact I learned. So the first income tax was established in the 1860s because the country was going broke funding the Civil War. And rich people got super fucking pissed about it. They rebelled and tried to file lawsuits to stop. They tried to defund the Union Army during the Civil War. If rich people had their way, America would have fucking ended. They tried to defund America. All right. Another thing was, the one thing that really annoyed rich people about this is public tax filings were public records. They print everyone's income and wealth in the newspaper, which means that America had more transparency around taxing rich people in the 1860s than it does in the 2020s, right?
Right.
So that bugged the shit out of me. And talking about the destroyed America thing, another story that came out today, Joe Manchin is opposing big parts of Biden's agenda as the Koch network pressures him. So the Koch brothers are single-handedly pressuring Joe Manchin into stopping us from taking their money to fucking build schools and roads. So they'll just keep doing it. So this is if America wasn't a big war right now, absolutely rich people would be trying to defund it, unless they were war profiteers. That's the big exception, right?
Dude, Joe Manchin. Oh my God. I mean, I don't even want to get into it because we spent a lot of time talking about how much he sucks. I mean, we did talk about it last week, how much he sucks, but it's just like, I just feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, some people could probably point, I know there's like Mitt Romney and people, I just feel like you don't see the opposite of that happening, the opposite of Joe Manchin. Do you know what I mean? Like, even Mitt Romney, and like, when it's time to step two, he steps two, the party line at the end of the day. Like, the only caveat to that is that some of them voted to impeach Trump, but it's like, okay, so that's what it takes for any of them to move from the party line, regardless of what they say in public. Like the Republicans, I mean, they fucking show up and they do what they're supposed to goddamn do, right? Every time. Yeah. And then we get fucking some semblance of power, it seems like, and we just have the motherfuckers like Manchin and Sinema who just, what are they? What are they doing? It fucking drives me crazy.
The counterpoint to the Republican thing is like McCain doing the thumbs down to save Obamacare or whatever. But that was just because he wanted to say fuck you to Trump, and he was on his deathbed and knew he wouldn't be around to suffer any sort of fallout from it. I'm glad he did it, but I don't know how to walk through the man's reasoning. But what you're talking about earlier about the political will, about what would never change. So like, what would happen in a sane country right now is this would be an earth-shattering story that would be leading every front page and every TV newscast. We know this because shit like this has happened before. And after the stock market collapsed in the 20s and into the 30s during the Great Depression, there was something called the Pecora Commission. I think I'm saying that right. This prosecutor who led it was an Italian guy named Ferdinand Pecora. He was born in Sicily. They had a series of hearings about banking problems in the finance sector and banking deregulation that resulted in a lot of stuff we have now, like the SEC and stock market regulation and breaking up the big banks and shit. But what he did was he personally embarrassed all these CEOs about a lot of weird tax shit they were doing, right? His questions weren't, how would you structure the stock market or whatever? Because that's just boring and people can't follow it. It was like, how much money did you make? How much money did you pay in taxes? Didn't you just sell this stock to your wife at a loss? You could take a loss and not pay taxes on it. He did a bunch of shit like that. He led to the like, for example, he got wide media coverage and he called in J.P. Morgan Jr. And then J.P. Morgan admitted under examination that he and many of his partners had not paid any income taxes in 1931 and 32. And that got people fucking furious. And that's what led to Roosevelt being elected 4 straight times, for example.
Right.
Right. And like in a functioning, if Congress was functioning right now, this story would lead to immediate subpoenas for Bezos and Musk and all these dudes. And you embarrass the shit out of them. You generate media coverage. You generate inertia for bills to change the tax code because this shit sucks. It's not fair. Everyone knows it's not fair.
Right. So, Matt, you can start throwing up questions and comments if you see them, if we could get those up there. But yeah, like it's people used to fucking care. Like what is it the big lie of like, maybe one day you'll be one of those people and thus you should protect them now, or just that the politicized nature of it where it's like you're aligned with these rich people if you're on the right, like automatically. And so you have to take that stance, like some Israel shit or something. Like why doesn't every regular ass American care greatly about this shit, about the ultra wealthy not paying their fair share? And everyone, regardless of your political affiliation, should be upset by that. But a whole lot of people just aren't. They just don't care.
Everyone
are for it.
Everyone is across the board polling, regardless of party, raise rich people's taxes. It's if you ask Americans to chart what they think wealth inequality is and what they think it should be, they'll always draw a chart and make it more fair, right? They'll say it looks like this, but it should be like this. But in reality, it's more like this, right? The people's conception of how rich it's like an escape velocity. The rich people have gotten so rich that most of us can't even conceive of how wealthy they are. Like there's a classic example. I'm gonna fuck it up off the top of my head, but like a million seconds is like a week or two, and a billion seconds is like 30
it's like
years.
33 years. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's fucking crazy. Your brain can't conceive of it. It's like thinking of how big the universe is or whatever. Whisper Mason on YouTube says, but now conservatives have reprogrammed people to believe that you are wealthy and don't pay taxes. You should be applauded for gaming the system. There's definitely plenty of them who feel that way. I think I remember Trump was being like, yeah, that makes me smart when he's talking about not paying taxes and whatnot. And I've had arguments with conservatives before about the CEOs and how it's all bullshit or whatever. And they're like, no, they've earned every penny of that by being who they are, I guess.
I was talking to a mutual friend of ours the other day about he has a mega rich brother-in-law who's a MAGA dude, and they were talking about this, and he's like, oh, you make like $10,000 times what your lowest paid employees do. Do you think you work 10,000 times harder than they do? He's like, yes.
Right.
He's like, that can't be true. That can't be true, bro. We're at dinner right now. Like, you're not working.
Right.
It just can't. It's just like, I don't know. There's no empathy and no fucking self-regard. And like, I don't make this about personal moral failings, even though these guys do happen to be scumbags for other reasons. Obviously, people are going to pay the lowest amount of tax they have to pay. Everyone's going to do that because paying taxes sucks. It's not exciting, right? But the lack of the lack of political will to change the tax code, even though 90% of Americans would be for it if you pitched them the right way, is insane to me. I don't. It's maddening. Yeah.
John Orbit Bainbridge says if you got $1 million a year and lived on interest, it would take 1,000 years to become a billionaire. Obviously, depends on the specific percentage, but the difference between $1 million and $1 billion is like incredibly stark. And you're right, like regular people can't like compute how much money we're actually talking about here.
I think I've
the same way.
I think I might have mentioned this in the show before, but one thing that really summed it up for me was like there was a GoFundMe to build the wall back in 2017, and they set the GoFundMe amount they're trying to raise at $1 billion, and they got to 5 million, and they all celebrated being halfway there. And it was like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you got Bezos, who's isn't it like it's like 200 billion now or something like that. I mean, it's just right. Like you just shrug. You're like, I mean, it's just made up.
Yeah.
Like at that point.
Yeah.
L.A. Gothro says, and the stock market is the mood ring for rich people. Yeah, it's all like the whole like talking about what the stock market's doing and everything when they talk about the economy has always been funny to me because like I barely know anyone who does anything with the stock market at all and never really have my entire life. And yeah, I grew up poor, but now I just know sort of just regular ass people. And the stock market has nothing to do with most Americans' lives, but it's kind of the litmus test for what the economy's doing if you watch the news and
Well,
everything.
the stock market mood ring thing. What's funny about that to me is like Elon's got into Dogecoin now, so he's just dropped the edifice and just like, yeah, we're all buying mood rings. It's just like that's what it is.
Yeah. Betty Veronica says Jen Psaki is stepping down next year. I think Corey / the Buttercream Dream / Kenny needs to be her successor. I think we'd all love that except for Joe Biden. Probably wouldn't love that very much because Corey, you talk about getting broken down on the stand. Corey, as the White House press secretary, would be some shit. But his character, Kenny Ray, who is not named after my first cousin, but I do have a first cousin named Kenny Ray, just so everybody knows. Yes, is a wonderful character, and we all love Corey. I would love to see Corey have to do an actual White House press conference, like in that capacity. I'm not saying I would do any better. I would just like to see that happen.
By the third press conference, Corey be shitting in his hand and throwing it at people.
Dude,
monkey.
he would lose his mind on some conservative blogger in the very first session. I think just have a complete meltdown up there. And again, not that I'd do any better, but yeah. We're not cut out for like, being diplomatic in that way. I don't think.
I chose my lifestyle intentionally to have to be as undiplomatic as possible.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like I could have. I've never had a job where I had to. Even like my first career as a newspaper reporter, newsroom's the closest thing to backstage at a comedy club as a work environment that I could think of. So.
Yeah. Kate Bolton Schmuckler, sorry, Kate, says, what about the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Yeah, Corey would absolutely crush that. If that's what you're asking, I would too. So would Mark. We'd all crush it. We should all do it together. It'd be a great time. Yeah, that's a completely different thing. Not that that's an easy gig. That make you follow the fucking president. Of course, as long as it's not Obama, it's maybe not as hard. But not that that's an easy gig. But yeah, that's obviously a completely different thing, and that would be wonderful.
Do you remember a couple years ago when Michelle Wolf got in trouble for a bunch of shit she said about Sarah Sanders at the the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
Yeah.
So that same year, our buddy Roy Wood did the Congressional Correspondents' Dinner, right? Which was like 2 weeks earlier, but it's not as big of a deal. Nobody watched it, and I pitched some bits for it, so I helped him out with a little bit. I don't think he used anything I did, so it's like this is no reflection on me at all. But he went so much harder than she did.
Oh, I guarantee it.
He literally told them all they were all going to go to prison. He did a joke where he said if you made a law where congressional mistresses could only get affairs in the congressman's home district, abortion politics would be way different. It was so fucking funny, and no one because no one was watching, nothing happened. Right. It was like it just proved to me that the whole controversy was fucking fake and stupid.
For sure, because it's like the White House Correspondents thing is like people are looking for controversy at that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is a thing that happens. What got said there? What can we get mad about? Whereas the Congressional Correspondents' Dinner, no one's doing that. So Roy gets to go up there and just go off. As an aside, shout out to Roy Wood Jr., one of the single most brilliant comics out there right now, and if you don't fuck with him, you should. He's amazingly funny, and incisive, and just a great dude too. I fucking love Roy so much.
Yeah, he's awesome. But the only funny thing that to me that ever happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner was Obama embarrassing the shit out of Trump in 2011, and that resulted in Trump becoming president. That's that. Even that ended up sucking. So, yeah.
We have one comment up there from Donald Dub. Donald Dub said, "Ha ha, yeah, pay your taxes and maybe we'll arrange for your re-entry." Talking about Bezos. Dude, what if it went full on Challenger shit? You know what I mean? Like, how wild would that be? Like, what if it fucking explodes or something? I mean, shit like that don't ever happen.
They've only done 12 test flights of this thing, and like when the space shuttle blew up over Texas, they've done way more than 12 flights of that. So I mean, like my joke I made about it was they should take all his money up in the rocket with him. That way, if he blows up, at least he'd be remembered fondly for being the money pinata over the whole country guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Aaron McCullough says Michelle Wolf was punished for daring to be female and trying to be funny. The double standard is stupid. I hear you generally speaking, but I do think that if Roy had been doing the White House Correspondents' Dinner and had gone in the way Mark is describing it, because for the record, Roy Wood Jr. is a black man, I think he probably would have gotten, some of the same types of shit that she got, I think.
I think
speculation.
I think like those particular jokes, I think whoever would have done them would have been in trouble, because the takeaway, the right's gotten really good at using the language of left-wing victimhood, right? So that double standard you talked about, which does exist, they use that language to say that she was only making fun of Sarah Sanders because she's a woman. So that was the whole gist there. Is they've taken that framing and they've run with it real hard, because she got made fun of her. She made a joke that with the setup referenced her makeup having a smoky eye. It wasn't the punchline of it, but no one understands how jokes work. So that was that. And then she made a joke about her looking like a softball coach, which they pretended was a lesbian joke and then said it was unwoke. It's like, but you're the one saying softball player's a lesbian. Her joke didn't say that. So who's problematic here? I don't know what's happening. So.
What was that tweet about Sarah Sanders? It was something like Sarah Sanders looks like she just got a cash settlement and she just got a big settlement and needs cash now, or something like that.
It's a good joke.
Yeah, fuck Sarah Sanders. Dustin, quad with the bod. Berg says, I'm sad for conservatives because they don't have comedy. Yeah, I mean, they think they do.
I mean, I always wonder, is Mike Huckabee actually funny to them, or do they have to pretend Mike Huckabee is funny?
I wonder that all the time when it comes to like their entertainment. Like, does this shit actually hit for them just because they know the source of it is someone they agree with, or just does it genuinely hit for them, which seems unfathomable to me, or are they pretending? Because it's like, because they fucking stick together, man, on that side of things. Like, they are a united front. So it almost seems like if you align yourself with them and then you're like, hey, I'm making jokes, that they're all going to be like, I fucking love these jokes, no matter what the jokes are. It's wild.
I'm trying, I'm trying to imagine let's hypothetically say the left-wing version of Mike Huckabee. Like they go to a Mike Huckabee TV taping back when he had a show and sit through the TV taping and pretend it's great to own the libs, right? Like who's the left-wing equivalent where it'd be like, if you go to this person's terrible fucking show who's unfunny as shit just because they share your politics, if you sit through that show, yada yada yada, 3 steps down the road, then everyone gets healthcare. I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah. I like this. We'll end talking about this one because I like this comment. Will Tyson says, conservatives don't need comedy to punish people. They have money and power to punish people. And I think that's a pretty astute observation in a lot of ways, because comedy, that's what comedy does. You punch up, you poke holes, and it's like the weapon of people that don't have anything else. You know what I mean? A lot of times I'm not trying to lionize you and I when I say that. I'm just saying, like, that's where comedy comes from a lot of times, is fucking, that's the only weapon you have in opposition to these oppressive forces, is to fucking make fun of it, make them look and sound and feel stupid. And they don't really have a lot to the sort of engine of comedy is fucking frustration or anger or whatever, for sadness for a lot of people. And they have less of that to go around. From legitimate sources, I think.
I think that punching out, punching down thing is sometimes it's sort of the way people think about it. It's a little off, but I know what you're saying. But the way I think about it is like my wife's been rewatching Friends, and she was on the episode another day where Chandler hears his former coworkers, who is now he's the boss now. They're making fun of him behind his back, and he gets his feelings hurt about it. But then he realizes, oh, they make fun of me because I'm the boss. We always make fun of the boss, right?
Of course,
so it's
everybody makes fun of the boss.
It's cool to make fun of your boss, but when you find out like the fucking those dickheads at that chicken factory were doing pools over which one of their employees would die of COVID, that fucking sucks, right?
Yeah.
It's like if working people were doing pools about their bosses, I would probably think that was funny though. Is the thing about it.
Yeah. For sure. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. That's it for this week's edition of Weekly Skews. We'll see you on June 15th, the Ides of June. Join us. We'll be here. See you.